What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the Aviator Chris channel. Today we're going to take a look at the much anticipated X-Plane 12 and what third-party add-ons work on day one. Stick around.
All right, everyone, we're on the ground here. We're using live weather, and it's been rainy all day. So we're going to fire up the Cessna and get going. We'll do a lap in the pattern during the day and a lap in the pattern at night, and we'll see what it all looks like. So as we taxi out here, winds are calling for runway 14 here at Republic. First thing I'm noticing here is it's overcast, looking, fairly good, I would say. We do see puddles on the ground, although they look like they're in more of a pattern form than looking natural, so to speak. But overall, they don't look bad. They look good. They're reflecting the actual scenery and not just generic reflections, so that's cool. So we're also kind of going to be taking a look at the flight model here as well. This is the stock 172, so this should be paired really well with the new flight model. So one thing I notice is just tapping the brakes lightly seems to cause the front nose strut to compress like almost all the way. That certainly does not happen in any of the real 172s that I've flown. So I'm not really sure what that's about, but we'll overlook it for now. And let's do the takeoff roll. So for overall on the takeoff roll, it required right rudder. It felt like a Cessna.
Attention all aircraft. Republic altimeter 3000.
Interesting. Now, one thing I am noticing, and I don't know if this is something to do with the way my triple monitor setup is configured, but I'm noticing a surging in the frame rates and even what seems to be on the flight model. The flight model frame rates are showing about 19, and then they surge to 33, and then back to 19 again, which is really odd behavior. Now, all this is running on a 12th Gen i9 with a 3090. So I will say when pulling the power out and putting in flaps, pulling the power out, we feel the nose get a little heavy, and putting in flaps, we feel that little bit of ballooning, so that's all fairly realistic. We're a little high, so we're going to take that power out. Add that next notch of flaps. Very mild crosswind. So one thing is, this plane doesn't seem to float in this sim, which is interesting, because in the real thing, cutting the power about, 50, 40 feet above the ground like that wouldn't normally cause it to kind of just plop down like that. So that was interesting. I can't say I really felt the ground effect, but I'd probably have to do some testing in VR, because that usually gives you a little bit better depth perception and kind of situational awareness and more of a feel for the plane. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and we're going to roll the time to nighttime and see how this looks. And so far, I like what I see with the night lighting. This looks pretty realistic, aside from the kind of lens flare star pattern on the lights. Overall, this looks pretty realistic. One thing I will say that is a little disappointing is I don't see any light pollution reflecting off the clouds. This is, New York City here. We have a heavy overcast layer, and, there's just zero light pollution. Light effect might be a little overdone, but overall doesn't look too bad. Overall, I think it flies well. I think it flies like a Cessna, on takeoff and climb out, needing that right rudder, putting the flaps in, the nose ballooning up a little bit, the nose getting heavy when you cut the power. All these things are characteristics of the real aircraft. The only thing that seemed a little sketchy to me was on landing. It seems, as soon as those mains touch down, the nose just wants to collapse down on itself. I don't know if that's just some code tweaks of stiffening up the front nose gear, but it seems very, very soft. Just even tapping the brakes a quarter to a half of the way, it just seems like the nose gear wants to compress down all the way, which I've never seen that in the real thing. So there's that, and it's just also the mains touching down and the nose wanting to collapse down. No matter how much back pressure I'm holding, it doesn't seem to want to keep the nose off the ground. Something else that I noticed.
We'll cover third-party aircraft because those are probably what most people are looking for. I know it's what I'm looking for. I'm really excited to get back into the TBM and the SR-22 and the Airfoil Labs 172. As of day one, it's the first 24 hours with X-Plane 12. I haven't seen any updates pushed out yet. I've checked all the appropriate Discords and websites. So from what I've seen, none of the third-party aircraft have been updated just yet. Now, I do see that the SR-22 G1000 from Torxim, they said it will work, but it seems like your mileage may vary. I've had a few weird issues with the G1000 in the SR-22. Flight model-wise, it starts and it runs, and it seems to perform okay. But I also noticed some weird engine surging. And I don't know if that's due to X-Plane 12. I've never experienced that in X-Plane 11, so I'm assuming it's something to do with the X-Plane 12 code now. I basically just downloaded the installer, installed it fresh into the sim, and fired it up, and it seemed like it was ready to go. I'll have to mess around with it a little more. The sim just came out. I've only had a couple hours with it. But so far, overall, it runs okay. But for third-party planes, we're probably going to have to wait a little bit and give the devs some time to get everything all updated and ready to go. So I also tried to get installed the Airfoil Labs 172 NG, which I was able to successfully install. However, it does not seem to work for me. 98% of the time, I would say it crashes the sim, it crashed the desktop. And then every other time it either spawns in the ground and doesn't seem to fly or start, and then just ends up bursting into flames. So we're probably going to have to wait a while for the 172 NG to get updated from Airfoil Labs. I also have the TBM 900 from Hot Start, which I'm super excited to get back to flying. It's one of the main reasons I bought this panel. This panel was pretty much designed for that aircraft. I haven't seen any updates from them yet either, but we do know that they're coming. Hot Start also makes the Challenger 650, which we know we're getting an update from that, and I haven't seen any updates come through the pipeline yet. So again, it seems like we're going to be in a bit of a waiting period. This is a brand new sim. Granted, some things still look like X-Plane 11 that, a lot of people comment on, but it is a brand new sim. There was a lot of things changed. This new weather system, lighting, there's definitely a lot of features and underlying code that's been changed here. And speaking of the Realsim Gear TBM panel, everything seems to work out of the box in X-Plane 12, which is nice. I basically just copied over all the plugin files and everything just worked as intended with no issues. So as for some other plugins here, it seems the Pilotedge client works, the live traffic plugin, and it even seems that xPilot for Realsim also works. I haven't had any time to properly test xPilot though, so your mileage may vary there, but so far all these things seem to work out of the box. Alright guys, that's it for the X-Plane 12 first look. Just some quick closeout thoughts. Do I think X-Plane 12 is worth it at this time? Right at this point in time, I would probably hold off. It really depends on your purpose. If you're looking for all your add-ons and everything to be working outside of the box, I'd probably check back in a couple of weeks. Might even take a couple of months, not sure. It really is going to be down to the independent devs and their development cycles and how much time they can devote to updating all their aircraft. And it's also really going to depend, largely on Laminar as well. If they start making underlying code changes, the devs are going to constantly be basically coding in circles, if you will, to make adjustments based upon what changes they're making. So it's still early. I'd give it some time. If you want to be part of, this is labeled as a beta. If you want to be part of the beta and jump right in like I did, go right ahead. There are some good things here. But if you're looking for everything to work and be rock solid and ready to go like X-Plane 11 would be right now, that's just not where we're at. So it's going to take some time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and bell notification for future videos. You could also find me on twitch.tv/AviatorChris, where I do live streams on various online networks such as Pilotedge and Realsim. Be well and fly safe.